So this is I don't want to say unboxing because I opened it yesterday, but I haven't actually opened it. And I've been wanting this deck for a while, but I never really saw justification to get it because when I looked at it, it wasn't necessarily something that resonated with me. However, that being said, I am getting ready to teach some tarot. And because of that, well, I decided it would be a good time to pick up this deck. So it is a used deck, and I would recommend anybody buying a used deck that you have to clean it and smudge it and make sure, and I'm not meaning spit polish, it's however you choose, and in my classes I will talk about that. But right now, I want to show you, as I said, I bought this used, but it's in good shape. So it is the Wild Unknown, and somebody parted with their deck, and I know there's energy that I have to clean and smudge, and yes, there's some sage going. But the deck, the box is nice and solid. The box itself that it comes in, while it's got a little bit of damage because it is an older box, this has come undone, it's still a very nice box, and it's got a magnetic closure. And it's also got a string to pull out the card deck, the card box. So, and I like the infinity symbol inside of it. So that's the box. Now the deck itself also, which is nice and handy, a lot of decks don't have this, is the string. And yes, there's an easy way to get your cards out, but the string makes it just a little bit fancier. And once again, we have the infinity symbol. So the box is very solid, just like the other box. And, you know, it says here in the box, it says, welcome to the welcome to the Wild Unknown Tarot. You'll find no wrongs or rights inside this box. Just mirrors for reflection. Open your mind, draw a card, and have fun on your journey. Well, that seems fun to start off with, so let's close that. And the book itself is really nice too. It's got a nice cover. It's thick. It's not just a paper book. It's not the little white book, and this is a deluxe set. And, you know, it looks very nice. Nice drawing and nice representation of what the card means. But it's a little bit different because this deck does not have an allotment for reversals. There's no mention of reversals at all in the actual meaning of each card, and that's usually where it is. They do have a basic setup, and they have what to ask. They have how you shuffle and cut cards, if this is not, and how to do a card of the day, plus a past, present, future, a clarity spread, a connection spread, of course the Celtic cross, because what wouldn't have a Celtic cross, and a year ahead spread. And then, reverse cards. You'll notice that some books and websites read into the reverse positioning of the cards when a card appears upside down. I've not included reverse meanings in this book, as it's important to have a grounded sense of the 78 cards in their upright position before adding the complexity of reverse meanings to your reading again. There is no right or wrong here. You do not need to use reverse cards at all. My very favorite psychic positions the cards so they are always upright, and her readings are incredibly meaningful to me, but do what works for you. So, and then she's got a last thoughts, and then we dive in. So, I mean, that's her take, and that's the thing about tarot. We always have these lovely takes about what and how to do it. You can learn the Fool's Journey, and I'm sure there's going to be somebody come here in the comments and say, you know, we're talking about, while the Fool's Journey applies, and this is something else that I'm teaching, is each deck has now drawn into a whole nother energy, a whole nother system. And the fact is, when we look at tarot now, we have to look at the bigger picture, because some decks don't have a tower, and some decks don't have the death card. And, you know, some decks don't have the devil. They have temptation. So it's all a matter of what you're comfortable with. So I haven't read with these. Like I said, I just got them yesterday. I have not smudged them. So I'm going to smudge them, clean them up, and then we're going to look through them. I don't know that I'm going to do a reading with them quite yet, but we're going to look through them. So I've cleaned and sorted the cards. I smudged them for me, and I will work with them a little bit later, but I did go through and sort them all. The one thing I did notice about this deck is that it has not been used a lot. It has had some use, but it's pretty pristine, which I'm fortunate that I got a new deck that's pristine. So when I look at decks, though, and people will notice this when you are out and about doing a reading, and they'll sit there and say, well, you must be knowing what you're doing because look at the bend on the card. my dearly departed used to sit there and say that they were funky bent, and he would try to unbend them, and it's like, no, 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 this is my reading cards. But now when I'm out, at least currently, I've picked up some new decks because I want to keep these decks as pristine as possible, because eventually you never know when they might go out of print. So I have decks for travel and I have decks for home, and it also allows me to practice my tarot in a more even keeled basis. I can practice tarot every day without going and unpacking travel decks and then bringing them, and it just gets to be a little bit of a hassle. So this is not, we're not talking about that right this minute. We are talking about the wild unknown. So when I look at the deck, the images are very simplistic. For the most part, they're black and white, except with a little color. And the Fool, this is kind of appropriate because we are dealing with the wild unknown, and it's more, some people refer to this deck as the animal deck. And when you think about the Fool, we look at the Fool as you're about to take that flying leap of faith. So here we have something very innocent. Now the cardstock, like I said, is very good. It's not so flimsy. You don't want something that's going to be so flimsy, but this is a good way to shuffle. And you know, when you look at the cards, they're very, very symbolic, very animal friendly. So, but they're not only animals. We also have nature. And I can sit here and go through every card and tell you exactly how I feel about them. I mean, this one's pretty powerful with the Chariot because, I mean, it's a Mustang basically, and it's charging forward. So there's a lot of symbolism for us to look at in this deck. And that's good because you want the symbolism to resonate with you. You know, when you think of strength, of course, you're going to think of the lion. And isn't the infinity symbol on his forehead just that much better? Because, you know, you're dealing with the fact that infinite strength. Wouldn't that be awesome to have that? And the Hangman, what better thing would be than a bat? We deal with death. And like I said earlier, some decks don't have death. We have a dead bird. So we're looking at the skeletal remains. So the devil, though, cracks me up because, yes, he's a fire. He's got little hot foot fire on his paws or hooves. So when we look at this deck, there's some very simplistic images. And I would say for the most part, even the sun, when you look at the sun, it's colorful and that's it. In Judgment, you're breaking free. So I think that the deck lends itself very easily to beginners, and I'm not saying that it's not good for experienced readers, but I think it does lend it to novice readers if you are called toward animals as well as nature. So shuffle's pretty good. Shuffles very easily, actually. And yes, I'm not a person that sits there and shuffles like a lot of readers do. I've always liked the crack of energy in there. And I don't bridge them, but I do shuffle that way. So just going to take these for a spin. I'll be back. Hi gang, Donna here. Today's reading is going to be with the Wild Unknown deck. It's a deck I just picked up and I am working on doing a review for, but I decided to do, you know, since I had to review the deck anyway, might as well go ahead and do a reading. So the first card we have, and yes, I did shuffle and I did organize, and the Fool. So the Fool is telling us that we're about to start a new journey. And the thing about it is, when you look at this Fool in particular, it's very young. We're just hatched. We're just looking at life through a bigger picture. We're looking at it going, okay, so what are the infinite possibilities? And that's one thing I like about this deck so far is in the box itself, it has the infinity symbol. So you have to look when you're being the Fool and you're taking that leap of faith, you have to have that open mind to say, where am I going? What am I doing? And how am I going to get there? And we're looking at the Lovers. It's like you want to take flight. You want to, you know, it's interesting because we start at the little chickie, but then we turn into the love geese and we're flying in the air. We want to be the Lovers. We want to take flight. We want to have the infinite symbol of happiness and joy. And to tie that in, which I find amusing, this is all about love, is we have the Two of Cups. So it's like we want that partnership. We want that union. And how are we going to get there? You know, it's like there's the Fool, and there's these two relationship cards, and that's awesome, isn't it? But are you in a relationship with yourself? Sometimes we do need to be in a relationship with ourselves to heal trauma, and I get that. But, in a love reading, you're kind of like, and then yes, I'm wearing a heart shirt. So there you go. Actually, it is a heart and an A. It's from Punk Masters. Um, so anyway, it's a great t-shirt company. They're closed right now, but check them out. They're on Etsy. But anyway, sorry for the post. But anyway, so the next card is the Father of Swords. So it's a guy who can offer you the rainbow, but he can be quite swordsy. He can be quite a know-it-all. And it's not that he does know it all. He just doesn't like to be challenged. And that's kind of where it's like you have this whole presentation of being the fool, being innocent, and you have these cards surrounding you too, and it's like, well, you have to be the innocent love person. You have to present yourself with love to this person. And while it is a Father of Swords, the fact of the matter is this is the masculine energy. You could be dealing with a woman that is just as much in her divine feminine as she is her divine masculine. And sometimes the divine masculine overtakes her. So in this little reading right here, so far, we have the situation where you have to present yourself as open, loving, and caring. And what's the best way to do that? Well, being innocent. Going back to when we were kids, we weren't so marred by past relationships and everything. There's also a new beginning of money for you. It's like you're starting off on a strong foundation, building a strong foundation to be able to grow from. And that's a big thing. It's like when you look at this card and you see all the rings, how many rings are there? And they always talk about the age of a tree being through the rings. So it's like, this is something, if you really want to, since we're kind of doing a love reading, if you look at this, it's kind of like all these rings, all these lifetimes of you two together. How do you explore those? There was a centerpiece that started this, and that is what is still there connecting you. It's like you're almost going inward to that centerpiece to connect this relationship. But sometimes it's like you get a little lost, a little sad, a little overwhelmed that maybe things aren't happening the way you want them to or as quickly as you want them to. So how do I move through this? How do I move forward? Well, the truth of the matter is, especially as we are in December, and I know I didn't put a timestamp, but sometimes we have to cocoon ourselves. We have to just take some time for ourselves and figure out who we are and do the work. It's important to, because if you don't, you're not going to be able to heal yourself and you're not going to be able to have that relationship you want. And as I was saying, you have to do the work. While it may seem like there's a mountain ahead of you, it's okay. You need to keep moving forward. You have to trust. And if you trust, you're going to end up with being able to climb that mountain. Because guess what? Judgment Day is here. You're free. You get everything you need and everything you want. But judgment has to be in your favor. And the only way that's going to happen is if you do the work. So I hope you have a great day, guys. Take care. Bye. So the last part of this, I did the reading. I included that in here so you can see. Honestly, the cards really resonated easily. It's not a big deal. For me, each deck has a different feel to it, and the reading just went smoothly, and I didn't have a problem with it. And I think it's going to be an easy deck for most people to read. But the one thing I will say, and not everybody can do it, you, especially starting out, you have to pick a deck that resonates with you. And if this doesn't resonate with you, then it's not going to work. I mean, I have decks that, part of the reason I switched from the gilded or the cosmic to the gilded was because the cosmic really, it was there, but I didn't feel it as much as I used to. So while it's easy to pick up a deck and do a quick reading, you really want a deck that you resonate with, that you feel, and it's important. So on that note, I will post some pictures that will be in this, and I'll put a little music with it, I guess, and let you see the cards. But overall, I think the deck is a good, solid deck. It's very popular. It's very popular about 5 years ago. And then I know some people still read with it. So if that is something that you're called to, animals and nature and colors and also black and white, you want something basic, this would be a good deck. Now, are you going to go on the Fool's Journey? Yeah, in a way, but not really. So don't expect it to be like the standard Rider Waite. And that's a lot of decks now. It's like they have their own interpretation and own take. So I hope you enjoyed this unboxing / review, and check out my other ones. Bye.